It's the Big Rich Live on the Mike Radio Show here on YouTube. The real news and strong opinions given here. A platform to chop up game with the family, you dig?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
What's good, people? What's good, people? Notice we changed our intro. I love it. You know, I guess I should have asked you guys what you thought about it before I said what I said. But then again, I mean, if it's here, then you know that I love the intro. So Big Rich here from the Big Rich Live on the Mike Radio Show here on YouTube. The Saturday show, we are, let me see, I want to say 3 shows on time. Can you believe that? But getting back to the intro, it was the music was done by one of my colleagues, DJ Nisi D from out of Orlando. I said, look, I need a old school hook with a bunch of scratches, and she dropped it. And then the voiceover was a brother on Fervor did it for me, and we put it together. And then, you know, the Let's Get Ready to Rumble, that type of stuff right there. You know, the Michael Buffer. You know, I got to do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? So thanks to all of them. Let me know what you think. Put it down at the bottom. You know, thumbs up, thumbs down. You know what you think and stuff like that. That's the new intro for not What's the Real Deal, for the Big Rich Live on the Mike Radio Show here on YouTube. That's going to be our new intro. I'm trying to see, excuse me, if I'm going to do or produce intros for the other 2 shows. And at the end of this show right here, I'm going to introduce a new show that is actually piggybacking off of somebody else's show. But a lot of people, when that show launched last week, a lot of people were like, man, you need to do something like that. So, you know, I was like, you know, I'll try it. You know, it's not going to be 5 days a week like Dr. Boyce Watkins has his, but it'll be once a week, and it'll be strategically placed in the week so that it's for us. It's for, you know, African-American Black news, you know what I'm saying? Things that are going on in our community, things, you know, and it's not just police brutality and other stuff like that. You know, it's going to be some of that, obviously, you know, racism, you know, the things going on with the sisters getting jumped in the Asian establishments and stuff. We'll talk about that, but we're also going to talk about crowdfunding. We're going to talk about cooperative economics. We're going to talk about achievements, you know, professional and personal. We're going to talk about things that we need to do within our community to uplift the community, you know what I'm saying, to get out from under this cloud of white supremacy and racism and misogyny and stuff like that. So we will talk about that. I don't even know what the name of the show is going to be. It just might be, hey, African American News, hosted by Big Rich. I think that's probably what I'm going to go with. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what? Send me emails, send me tweets, DM me. Again, email is bigrichliveo@gmail.com. The Twitter is B R live on the mic, and Instagram is Big Rich Live on the mic _ between each word. Why don't you go ahead on and get at me and let me know what you think the name should be, you know, or if you like African American News, you know, hosted by Big Rich. If you like that, then, you know, we'll roll with it. And if as long as it ain't nothing crazy, I'll probably go with that. So Again, welcome to the Big Rich Live on the Mic show. Here it's Saturday edition. We just chilling here. Saturday is going to be a condensed show because I actually have a housewarming party to go to tonight for one of my boys. So we not going to chop it up too long, but I got two actual subjects that we're going to talk about. One, not a lot of people, but some people find it weird that I'm talking about it because of my stance on that particular subject. But just because I don't particularly agree with something, or I don't roll with something, or I don't think that something is natural, does not mean that I turn a blind eye to people who are getting marginalized, who are getting discriminated against, that type of stuff right here. I've always said that, black people, period, not just African American, black people, that's Africans, that's African Americans, that's Jamaicans, Haitians, we should be the last people to A, discriminate against anybody, or B, turn a blind eye on people who are or have been discriminated. Because whether people want to believe it or not, we as black people, melanated people on this earth, have been discriminated and still is discriminated the most, bar none. So just because I don't agree with something does not mean that I then sit back and let somebody be marginalized and discriminated against and stuff. So that leads to our first subject. And it's, the North Carolina GOP going at it again. It's funny how you have people who just don't get it. Just don't get it. And we're going to talk about the hypocrisy as we go on in this subject. But basically, the North Carolina GOP just authored some and put out some legislation that will ban gay marriage within the state. It will not recognize outside gay marriage. It will not perform gay marriage ceremonies and that type of stuff. Well, first of all, they can't do that. Why? Because it's already been set in stone through the highest court in the land that it is legal and it shall be recognized, and you shall issue these types of licenses for same-sex marriage. But this just shows you how ignorance is bliss in the GOP, in the conservative movement. And it's funny. They try to say that us liberals and progressives and stuff like that are crazy. No, y'all are crazy ones, because it's like this. On one end, you say the federal government, or not even the federal government, the government itself need to get out of my life. Okay, don't take my guns. I want small government. But on the other side, because you are controlling the government, you then put your views and try to push them on everybody else. So which one is it? Is it small government, state government stay out of our lives, out of our bedrooms? Or is it big government only when you are in control? Now, I'm not going to sit up here and ramble on about, it's the GOP's fault or they did this and they did that. Because right now, they are doing voter suppression throughout the country, okay? Especially in the South and along the Rust Belt. But that's now because people are waking up. The fact of the matter is, for years prior, Democrats and other progressives like myself have not stepped up to the plate and went to the polls on a regular. We go to the polls when the president, but that's 4 years, fool. Do you understand that there are elections every November? Every November. And the reason is like that is because that way you don't have, let's just say you have a wave that basically gets rid of the majority of any type of body, any type of, state, federal, Senate, congressional seat, alderman seat, city councilman seats. The only reason they stretch it out is because you have some type of continuity. Because if everybody came up to get voted on at the same time, then you run the risk of a total do-over where now you got a body of people that don't know what to do at all because they've never done it. You follow what I'm saying? So I say Democrats, progressives, other liberals, we are the reasons why the GOP controls so much from the local government to the federal government, because we don't get out there and vote. Now, I know I'm going to get some pushback from some Democrats and some liberals and progressives saying, well, they're not giving us good candidates. And that very well might be true. But the thing is, if you vote with your pen, it was like, we not coming out for y'all. We will make sure that you guys get voted out. All of you, Nancy Pelosi, all of them get voted out. And then the very next time, we'll go ahead on and put some people that we know that's going to look for the people, and then we'll win easily. Why? Because look at the census. There are almost 4 times as many Democrats, liberals, progressives in this country than there are Republicans. The fact is, Republicans go to the polls on a regular basis. So in this case, you have a gerrymandered district, racially motivated district, and then people sitting around not understanding, hey, you might want to get your leg and your arm out of, inside the boat because there's a bunch of sharks out there. No, we just want to lay up. It's not bothering me. You know what I'm saying? It's not bothering my family. I'm cool, whatever. I have other things to do than to go out there and stand in these lines to vote for people that I don't even know. Well, the Republicans are not doing that. The Republican the base is not doing that. They go out regardless. Rain, shine, sleet, snow. They go out there. And that's why you have, and I'm not going to say that's the only reason, but that's why you have this groundswell of GOP pundits, basically, and politicians, really, that are running these districts. But it needs to really open up your mind. Now, what it has done these last couple of years, it has opened up a lot of people's eyes, and I like to say people woke up. Stay woke. People are woke now. So they're starting to understand that, hold on, this person here is really trying to screw a lot of us. And if I don't get screwed, somebody I know going to get screwed. And then eventually I'm going to get screwed because it's going to trickle down to me. So you have this body who is pushing this. First of all, you should know from the get-go, this is unconstitutional. It will get struck down as soon as, first of all, you might say, okay, in North Carolina, they have a Democratic governor, so he's already going to veto it. So it's dead on arrival. However, until they have the elections, and I want to say the elections is November. I'm not too sure. But when you have a situation where until the districts are redrawn and they have the new elections, they have a supermajority, meaning they have a veto-proof supermajority. Now, what will happen, this is what will happen. What will happen is after they waste all them taxpayers' money and do all of this type of crap, it'll get overturned. All of it will get overturned. The districts will be redrawn. They'll lose the majority of their seats. And then it'll be put back in the place. But the fact of the matter is, you don't know how many people are being harmed or could be harmed before this is overturned and everything is put right. So you have to look at it that way. Now, everybody who personally knows me, and let me tell you something, one of my best friends and former best friend are lesbians, right? They're gay. And they all know how I feel about the thing. It's not, it's not a hatred or anything. I just feel, hey, I'm just not with that. I think it's wrong. I don't think it's moral, whatever. But it's what you choose to do. We all grown. You know what I'm saying? We all grown. So with that, I'm like, hey, that's your thing. I don't deal with it. Don't want to be part of it and that type of stuff right there. But you guys, if you guys want to get, or guys or gals, y'all want to get married, then get married. Y'all want the same rights and remedies as a heterosexual couple, then do that. And the fact of the matter is, who gives a damn? I have swung. I don't ever. Okay. I used to think that I was homophobic, but then when I looked up homophobic is that you scared. I ain't scared of no man, right? So I'm not or never was homophobic. It's just that I was like, look, it's just uncomfortable with that type of situation. I'm gonna go on about my business, right? You going about your business. We cool. I'm not gonna treat you wrong. I'm not gonna avoid you. But hey, you just can't get into my center circle. That's just me. That's just how it is. It is what it is. But I have swung to the point where I really don't care. I don't care. Matter of fact, when somebody says, when they bring, hey, did you know such and such came out of the closet and they say they're gay? And I don't care. I don't. I really don't. It's funny where there's like, oh, I want to say Beauty and the Beast. They had their first openly gay character in a Disney movie. And so, was he having sex with a man? I mean, what was his sexual prowess, right? Was that part of the movie? Was that part of the plot? No. Then what the hell would I give a damn if the person is gay or not? So what? And I mean, look at Luke. Dang, I can't remember his name. Really good guy. I didn't know he was gay. It's Luke something. It'll come to me. I didn't know he was gay. Matter of fact, the guy who played the big bad, that's him, Luke, whatever. But he played the big bad in Beauty and the Beast. He's gay. I didn't know he was gay. It just happened to come out, and I was reading Variety or something like that. I'm like, and so? Who cares? Who cares? So I have swung to that. I don't want to say, I don't walk around with my penis in my hand trying to say, hey, look, I'm heterosexual. And, I just don't. It is what it is. Shoot. Ain't nobody business. So anyway, I digress on. I just wanted to, because I know I'm going to get some pushback, because I've gotten pushback. Well, Rich, you said that you don't particularly agree with the lifestyle. No, I don't. But that doesn't make it right for other people to discriminate against them for something that's already been decided by in a court of the highest court in the land. It's already been decided for you to sit around and try to tell people that they can't do what their heart wants them to do. Mind your business. Let me say, worry about pollution, worry about Medicare, worry about jobs and employment, worry about infrastructure, worry about getting rid of these racist policies and working on diversity and equality for all. Do that. Don't sit around here wasting taxpayers' money to put your religious views or your views, period, in everybody else's. You got to think about it. You say, okay, look, I got voted in. Let's just say I got 58% of the vote, right? Which is pretty overwhelming. I got 58% of the vote, but that means that 32% did not vote for you. So now you have to take. Now, granted, I'm with you. Before I even finish that, I'm with people who say that wins, there are consequences for wins. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. I really do. But your winning should not mean that I'm losing rights that every citizen in this country have just because you don't particularly like it. And you just look at, that just kills me. It's just the studies, look, dude, everybody ain't gonna be like you, bruh. These GOP people and quoting the Bible and all that stuff, ain't everybody Christians. And even Christians don't necessarily agree with what you're talking about, or have a different, not determination, a different view on the same thing. I mean, shoot, it's just like any time when you give a story to 10 different people. I'm sorry, you start a story down here and then you run it to 10 different people. Odds are that when the 10th person get it, it's not going to be what the hell you said to the first person. So I just don't understand how people is, and again, to put something up that is either unconstitutional or, even if it wasn't unconstitutional, which it is, that it will be overturned. That is a waste of money. That's a waste of taxpayer dollars. And what needs to happen is people need to rise up, go vote. I mean, that's just it is. I've said it before. I did not vote on the top of the ticket. I'm sorry. I hate the fact that Donald Trump is in, but I was not going to throw my vote away for Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry. You not going, as a Democrat, you not going to tell me, oh, well, you don't want him there. So, and we know you don't want her, but so what? We made a promise. We made a promise. So it is what it is, deal with it. No. And look what happened. That's the thing is, I'm not, and I'm going off on a little tangent, but I'm not a big Bernie Sanders fan either. I've said it. I said it a million times. When he said that he did not support reparations, he lost me. Period. He lost me. That doesn't mean that he's not a good person, a good man who has good convictions. We just differ on some things. But he seems to be the type of person that is willing to listen. And I know he was 100% better than Hillary Clinton. And I'm ready for a female president. I really am. We had an African-American one. But at some time, in the future, Hispanics might be the minority. It might be the majority. And there will be. And my thing is, hey, you've had 43 white males. You had one black male. Where's the women? You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know how this is going to go. I really don't. I don't know where this is going. I know that there's going to be people out here jumping up and down trying to stop this. I wish that these GOP heads would get their head out of their asses and realize that you can't govern this way. But I think they'll never change. I feel it will change when they get voted out of office. And I do feel that the more stuff goes on, the more from the head, President Tangerine on down, I think that the pendulum is going to swing. You think about it. Like I've said this before, and this is a little bit different than our topic. But when Barack Obama was voted in for his first 2 years, they had a supermajority. They had the presidency. They had a supermajority in the House and the Senate, right? And all of that went away. All of that went away because they didn't know how to govern for the people and not for the special interests in the corporate lobbyists. But it is what it is as far as I'm concerned. So that's the end of my thoughts on the North Carolina GOP at it again. Last story is our favorite Attorney General Jefferson Beauregard Sessions. He wants to restart the war on drugs. First of all, I never knew that the war on drugs stopped. The war on drugs is the number one reason why mass incarceration is how it is now. The number one reason. We as Black Americans, African Americans, make up a little bit more than 13% of these United States, yet we make up 50% of people incarcerated. Are you telling me that the mere 13% is doing 50% of the crimes? No. Statistics from the FBI shows that 70% of the crimes are done by Caucasian males, but only 32% of them ever go to trial and get convicted. Okay. So it is what it is. I'm somebody who looks at multiple stats. I don't make up my own damn stats. I look up multiple stats and then I compare them. And you see what's happening, because if you get stats from the FBI, right, then you actually correlate those stats with the stats from the prison complex, how people are actually in there. Then you compare it to the logs on how many people actually go to trial and get convicted. Then you work it into how many people get what do you call that? They get the charges dropped, or they get a plea. When you merge all that together, you can see what it is. Stevie Wonder can see what it is. But before I finish, or not even finish, continue, Jeff Sessions is an evil man. This is a evil, hateful man. If anybody, and I know I have a gambit of listeners, from teenagers all the way to people in their upper 60s, as far as, who email me and tweet me and stuff like that. So I know there's probably a little less than half of my listenership probably never heard of George Wallace, the governor, the former governor of Alabama, Mississippi. They just damn same. That's a shame. I know. Who wind up changing because of things that he saw. Wind up getting not killed. He wound up getting shot by a white supremacist who felt that he was a traitor. Why? Because he opened his eyes and saw the stuff that he was saying was bullshit. And then he wound up dying, where he was forgiven by a lot of African Americans in that time. Jeff Sessions, to me, reminds me a lot of George Wallace, except he's not as bombastic. Jeff Sessions was the last person who should ever have been appointed the Attorney General. And the fact that he's there with his racist past shows you exactly what's going on in our country and our political discourse. The war on drugs, Nixon started the war on drugs in the 60s, right? 60s, 70s, that type of stuff, right? And then Reagan really pushed it, and then now it's this tough on crime type stuff, right? Millions and millions and probably billions of dollars have been wasted on this so-called, because let me say, you want to do the war on drugs, you know how if you really truly want to do a war on drugs, what you do is you go down to Colombia, you go over to these opium fields and you burn them down. That's what you do. You send special forces in and you obliterate these coca fields and stuff like that. That's how you do it. You cut off the supply, but they won't do that. So what you do is you go into the black and brown and the poor white neighborhoods, the impoverished neighborhoods, and you sit around here and you do these busts, and then you sit around there and you get on TV with a couple of kilos of cocaine or some weed and stuff like that, act like you're doing something. People don't understand. Take it from a former cop. If you see some law enforcement organization that is on TV, on YouTube, on Twitter, whatever, and they got, let's just say, street value of $8 million worth of weed. Let's just go with weed. Odds are that more than 5 to 6 times of that got through. So what have you done? Really? Nothing. You sat around there, you got people thinking that the war on drugs is actually working when it's actually not. You wasting tax dollars, resources, all of this type of stuff. For what? If you give somebody, I've never worked drugs. I think you have to be a special person to work drugs. It's a seedy, I would rather work vice than work specifically drugs. Now, I understand in Vice you do have a lot of drugs, but I'm talking about specific drugs. I'd rather work Vice, and Vice is almost as seedy as working drugs. But all of the drug detectives and the advocates that I would speak to throughout the years, I would ask them, dude, do you feel that you making a difference? They they'd be like, hell no, we know we not making a difference. If we get a carload of weed, some type of dope, any type of stuff like that, we know that there's probably 10 or 12 cars that we missed that might have the same, if not more. They know this. It's just a waste. It's a never-ending battle, and it's basically the way they do it in its current incarnation. They might as well go to the Grand Canyon and just throw money. Just whoop. Go to every bank in the area, snatch all the money out of their vaults, including the gold bullion, and just throw it right off the cliff. But it's just ignorant. It's ignorance, and it's just hatefulness that makes you think that you the smartest person. No, forget the fact that more than half the country wants marijuana legal. More than half the country wants the war on drugs to stop. You, in your sick individual mind, think that you the smartest person in the room, you the sharpest knife in the drawer, and basically you know what's best for everybody. I saw a quote from Jeff Sessions talking about he was surprised that majority of people think the war on drugs is dumb. Yeah, fool, because you're the only person who thinks that again, that conservative, Bible Belt, Southern type old way of looking at things. People need to understand that what might have happened or how things were when you were small, 10, 15, 20, 30 years past, things evolve, things change. So I don't know what the deal is. I really don't. A lot of people are talking about they can't wait for President Tangerine to get impeached. Okay. He gets impeached. Now you bring up Mike Pence, who I feel is more dangerous than Donald Trump will ever be. Why? Because Mike Pence got a freaking brain in his head. He can make concise sentences. He is dangerous. Jeff Sessions is a dummy. Yes, he's a lawyer, but he's a dummy. And don't give me that, it's funny. I had this Twitter back and forth with this one conservative guy. He was saying, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Jeff Sessions has been a senator for over 20 years. I'm like, okay, from the state of Alabama. What is that? What are you saying? Alabama is one of the poorest states, is one of the most illiterate states. It is one of the worst run states for its citizens as far as healthcare, as far as education, as far as employment. Really? You say, now let me tell you, and maybe this might be a northern bias, but you tell me somebody was a senator for a state, a progressive state, something that started out like California, that started out conservative, now is one of the more progressive states, if you want to say, but there's still certain packages because you have Darrell Issa, silly ass, congressman from California. So there are pockets of conservatorship within the state of California. But overall, general speaking, then I might say, okay, like Barbara Boxer. She was a senator for the state of California for over 20 years. She just retired last year. Okay. But the state of Alabama, I'm sorry, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail from Alabama, but it is what it is. I've always told you. There's two states that I will never step foot in. Mississippi and Alabama. Period. This is how it is. So that's the end of this program. We're going to shut it down here. I went over a little bit more than I thought I was going to, but I wanted to get everything in. Thanks again. Like, share, and subscribe. Each one teach one. That's what we roll here. Remember, next week, I don't know what day. It might be either Tuesday or Thursday. We will launch the first edition of African American News here on the channel. We're just waiting on our team to put together our logo and how we're going to, what type of format we're going to do and that type of stuff right there. So it's either going to be Tuesday or Thursday. So when you subscribe to the channel, hit the, it should be, let me see, it should be somewhere around here. Hit the icon that looks like a bell, and it will let you know anytime that we upload something. So you definitely be in the loop. So in the meantime, in between time, stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke. Peace. And I'm out of here.